Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GBNews, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
A very, very good evening to you and welcome to Farage with me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Coming up on tonight's show, MPs are currently voting on the Prime Minister's £47 billion Chagos surrender deal. I'll be speaking to Nigel Farage live from the Palace of Westminster in just a moment's time, as well as one of the Chagosians leading the brave fight against this deal. As the Labour Party tears itself apart over the deputy leadership election, Nadeem Zahawi will be breaking his silence on this very programme over Angela Rayner's hypocrisy when she called for him to resign over his tax affairs. And Labour's brutal tax regime has forced billionaire Man United owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe out of the country, diverting £3 billion of investment towards the United States. Plus, the outgoing French Prime Minister Francois Bayrou, he left Parliament with a stark warning. France cannot become the United Kingdom. The humility of it. The French saying, don't be like the UK. That's all coming up on tonight's show. But first, here's your latest news headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Good evening. The top story. Sir Keir Starmer has condemned Israel's attack on Qatar, saying it violates Qatar's sovereignty and risks further escalation across the region. His comments come ahead of talks with Israel's President Isaac Herzog. The Prime Minister will host Herzog in Downing Street tomorrow. Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel takes full responsibility for its strike on Hamas leaders in Qatar's capital, Doha. A Hamas official saying its negotiating team was targeted during a meeting. The terror group says 5 of its members were killed in the attack, including the son of Hamas leader Halil al-Hayya and 3 staff from his office. The strike comes just months after explosions were reported over the city in June, when missiles were launched by Iran aimed at US air bases in the region. Qatar's foreign ministry says the attack is a blatant violation of international law. The IDF says it conducted a precise strike and those targeted are directly responsible for the brutal October 7th massacre. Meanwhile, Hamas claimed responsibility for yesterday's deadly shooting on the outskirts of Jerusalem that left 6 Israelis dead and 8 more wounded. Police say 2 gunmen opened fire on people waiting at a bus stop before being shot dead by an off-duty soldier. Benjamin Netanyahu called it part of Israel's intense war against terrorism, vowing to pursue anyone who helped the attackers. A woman has died after a small boat incident in the English Channel. A mayday call was issued just before 2 p.m. after one migrant boat got into difficulties just as it arrived in UK waters. Maritime sources told GBNews a significant number of migrants ended up falling overboard and into the Channel. More than 600 migrants made it to UK waters today. It comes just days after more than 1,000 people made the crossing in a single day. Newly released figures from the Parliamentary Labour Party show the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson leads the deputy leadership race so far. She's gained 44 of the 99 overall nominations as of 6 p.m. this evening. She and fellow Minister Alison McGovern are among the Labour figures vying for the leadership. Former Commons leader Lucy Powell is also standing in the contest to succeed Angela Rayner. Commons Foreign Affairs Committee Chairwoman Dame Emily Thornberry and backbenchers Belle Ribeiro Addy and Paula Barker also saying they are standing. Candidates have until Thursday evening to secure the support of 80 MPs to make it onto the ballot. And a row has broken out over welfare reform, with Rachel Reeves insisting she won't take advice from the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch. The Chancellor is accusing the opposition of crashing the economy when in government after Tory MPs urged her to accept cross-party talks on cutting welfare spending. Kemi Badenoch, meanwhile, is warning Labour's so-called tax doom loop is pushing Britain closer to a bond crisis and says families are already £1,700 worse off. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me in an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you, Tatiana, and welcome to Farage with me, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, it's the story of the evening, and it's the reason that Nigel Farage isn't here tonight, because as we speak, MPs are voting on the government's £47 billion Chagos surrender deal, and we'll be getting the results at any moment now. And after that, we're expecting to hear from Nigel Farage himself, live from Westminster Hall, as soon as we get that historic result. But in the meantime, we're joined in the studio by Miss Mandarin, a British Army veteran and the founder of the British Indian Ocean Territory Citizens Group, and also by my panel tonight, and that's Serrano Jayawardena, former Conservative MP and the Minister, and also Joe Phillips, the journalist and former Press Secretary to Paddy Ashdown. Just to fill you in, those are live pictures there from the Commons as we speak. The second reading of this historic vote is going ahead as we speak. We don't know what to expect. We almost certainly know that this will go through, that the government will win this, and I guess then the only chance of stopping this will be when it's read in the House of Lords. I want to go to my first guest, Miss Mandarin. Thank you for joining us. Miss Lee, you've been over there in the chamber listening in to this vote. You've been on this channel many times. I'll never forget that time you came in here and you gave such an impassioned speech about how you're a British Army veteran. You wear that flag proudly, but you proudly always touch the Union flag part of it. This is D-Day. This is the moment. Are you expecting this to be the moment where the British government finally surrenders and signs away your beautiful country?
Like you said earlier, it's a historic day for the wrong reason for the UK altogether. People need to understand, right? Every British citizen need to understand they are giving away a part of your British territory. And this part of the British territory is a key military base in the Indian Ocean, where from Digogasha military base, you can literally go to China, India, Middle East within hours. If they give that to Mauritius, this government are making Britain very, very weak. And for me, it's a story there for many, many reasons. My parents and my ancestors lost their land by then Labour government, and I'm witness now without any power to do anything, right? Sitting in the public gallery, have no essay to say, no self-determination by this Labour government. And for me, my heart is breaking right now. It's like giving my homeland to a foreign country. This breaks me right now.
The ayes to the
Let's go to the comments now. Here is the result of that vote.
The noes to the left, 174.
That's not the right number.
Shall I correct it? I'll correct it. Okay. The ayes to the right are 330. The noes to the left are 179. 179, correct? So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Unlock.
I said all out, but that was not the number I said all out.
Programme motion to be moved formally. The question is as on the order paper. As many that opinion say aye. Aye. Contrary no.
And there we have it. History is made. The ayes have it. 330 votes to 179 against. Mr. Mandarin, that's the result you least wanted. It's the result you probably expected. The British government has just signed away the Chagos Islands.
That for all the MPs who voted with the government today, mainly the Labour MPs, they have to think very, very carefully because they're not working for their constituency. Because that deal was not on their manifesto, first of all. We just came up and said, okay, we just want to give a piece of every British people, including me, British Chagosian, every children, right, a piece of your history to a foreign country. That's what this Labour government just did. And it seemed to me, I was in the public gallery in the House of Commons. The opposition put the question, valid question, that all of us is asking, but from the ministers and from the government MPs is all waffles. Is all protecting other countries. They're always saying, oh, the Fire Islands agreed to it, USA agreed to it, Australia agreed to it, Canada agreed to it, everybody agreed to it. But what about British people? What about us? Do we get a self-determination? Even do they ask the British people about giving a piece of sovereignty, which they held since the 1817, Napoleonic War against France, the Paris Treaty, and give that away for bread and butter? So this government is making Britain very weak, I'm afraid to say so.
I need to just ask you again, it's important to point out, Missy Mandarin, you can't see yourself as British, as bread and butter. You fought
you see the reason why. A lot of people don't understand that, right? And you've got two panels here. I'll make it clear. Free country was complicit to it, but including Mauritius as well. Mauritius played the biggest part of it. The reason why? Because the people been uprooted to their country. Instead of looking after them, what they did, they make them feel like second citizens. And most of those people who are uprooted right now, they're all dead in abject poverty in the cemetery now. What we're fighting for? Us, the children, we're fighting for our land. We won't let this happen. We know, as a part of it, it still had got the House of Lords. We will fight in any corners. And Josephine as well, thanks to a great British PAC, we got over 40 MPs, ex-ministers, army expert, wrote a letter to President Trump.
Okay,
to stop that deal.
Mr. Mandarin, thank you for your emotional words. I think now we can go to Nigel Farage, who's with us in the House of Commons. Nigel Farage, the ayes have it, 330 votes to 179. What's your initial reaction to what Mr. Mandarin here is calling a great British surrender?
Well, I think that's right. And I think that the wishes of the Chagosian people have been completely ignored. They've been treated very badly, frankly, since the late 1960s. This was perhaps an opportunity to put it right. They've ignored that. If you remember, Martin, when this deal first came to us, the Prime Minister told the House of Commons it would cost British taxpayers $3.4 billion. I got up and said it would cost $52 billion. Everyone said I was exaggerating it. Well, today, the Taxpayers Alliance estimate it'll cost $47 billion. So we are giving away 50 billion quid on a piece of territory that we own already to a foreign government that have never had any legitimate claim over the islands. We risk with our American friends oversight from the Chinese Communist Party. I honestly believe it is the worst deal for Britain. It is the worst deal for the Chagosians, and it's a deal that in the end will make the Americans very resentful of us.
Nigel Farage, I wonder, Missy Mandarin is here saying, is there any hope? There's a third reading. This may go to the Lords. Might the Americans look at this and think this is a terrible deal? Is there any hope left for the Chagosians?
Well, I have discussed this. I choose my words carefully, at reasonably high levels in America. The problem is they are so absorbed and consumed with the Ukrainian war, with all the difficulties in the Middle East, that this has gone rather low down on their agenda. And the Americans are taking the view, well, look, you know, what we have is what we hold. No one's going to threaten our position on Diego Garcia. So at the moment, they're not. But I wouldn't give up hope on this. I would not give up hope. Are we going to stop this at third reading in the Commons or the Lords? I doubt it, but the House of Lords may give us some hope. All I will tell you is that we have pledged already as a party that if we win the next election, we will undo this deal. And, you know, you can say breaking treaties is difficult, but we don't believe this to be legitimate. We don't believe it to be right. And all that Starmer and his human rights lawyers mates are doing is following a very dubious judgment, you know, from a court that, frankly, we don't recognise.
Now, of course, Nigel Farage, Sir Keir Starmer would say that he was merely following international law and this was the right thing to do. What do you respond to that?
Yeah. It was an advisory judgment from a court that is dubious at best. The reason Labour are doing this is post-colonial guilt. They see this as being part of what was the British Empire, and therefore just getting rid of it at any price is the right thing to do. They're playing student politics, and on a human level, the Chagosians have been totally ignored. How ironic for a group of people who believe in the Human Rights Act that they've ignored the human rights of the Chagosians.
Nigel Farage, today we've seen the African Union rattling their sabres. They're after potentially untold billions in reparations. In fact, some people say it could be as high as £16 trillion if we're on the hook for the full post-colonial guilt. Do you fear, Nigel Farage, that today's ruling may embolden the African Union and perhaps others around the world?
Well, if you see weakness in somebody on the other side of an argument, if you see weakness, then you push harder and harder. And don't forget, David Lammy, not that long ago, was talking about reparations. I mean, the whole argument, of course, is completely bogus. You know, as many know, although it's not being taught in schools, the Barbary pirates took hundreds of thousands of native Britons into slavery in North Africa. So if you start to play this game, I mean, goodness knows where you end up. I frankly think that we're a government, that this government doesn't believe in the national interest. It believes in this very bizarre set of international treaties and laws, most of which are hopelessly out of date, and we're not putting the interests of British people first. And the Chagosians are our responsibility, and we're treating them abominably.
It's ironic, is it not, that the Chagosians, I mean, Misty Mandarin here has fought for the British Army, prepared to take a bullet, prepared to take the ultimate price. You know him well. He's very, very emotional, sat here with me right now. And his idea in chamber today, he said that people in that chamber were speaking complete and utter waffle. That's what he said. Nobody in there, apart from certain people like yourselves, seemed to care about the fate of the Chagosians.
I know, and how bizarre. We've just had the vote in the Commons, and of all the Liberal Democrats, about 6 turned up, as if to them this just doesn't matter. It's very odd. We have a political class who, as I say, they're ashamed of British history, you know, without recognising that whilst we did things in the past that weren't right, so is every other country in the world. And yet, most people in the House of Commons on this issue just don't care, but we do.
Nigel Farage, can I ask you about what seems to be a very personal brand of politics today? The Labour Party seems to be entirely focusing their guns on you. They're calling you a plastic patriot, Sir Keir Starmer. Rachel Reeves saying that your economics are a clown show. Is this about to be the dirtiest 4-year general election campaign in history?
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, how Rachel Reeves can accuse anybody else of economic incompetence is completely and utterly beyond me, given her record as Chancellor. Yeah, they're going to get very personal. They're going to get very nasty. What else have they got? They haven't got any arguments. It's just abuse, abuse, abuse. Oh, and by the way, lies too. You know, Starmer said, and they keep repeating it on the airwaves, that I asked last week for the Americans to put sanctions on us over free speech. I didn't say anything of the kind at any point, but for Labour now, they'll grasp at lies, which they repeat and repeat, or just sink to personal abuse. And do you know what? They can use whatever terms of personal abuse they want against me. I'm not going to return the favour. I'm not going into the gutter with them. We're just going to keep on doing what we're doing.
And Nigel Farage, you'll be back in this hot seat tomorrow. Westminster presenting a 2-hour immigration special. Tell GBNews viewers all about it.
Yeah, we're going to do a 2-hour debate on immigration tomorrow. We found some extraordinary historical documents. We've got all the documents that were produced, the original documents in the lead-up and through the Human Rights Act becoming law in 1998, and we have a fascinating book from 1999 that almost everybody has forgotten, and the book makes it clear that human rights now must go through all pieces of the legal process in our country, and look where it's led. And have a guess who the book's written by. It's written by Keir Starmer. We're going to show you the truth about what the original intentions of the Act were and how people like Starmer turned it into what it is, and we'll debate with our panel both legal immigration and illegal immigration. The last I heard, another 500 plus had crossed the English Channel today. And, you know, immigration, legal and illegal, this isn't an issue. This is now the issue. And we'll dedicate 2 hours to this debate tomorrow evening, and we'll make sure that GBNews viewers hear every side of the argument, so as ever on this free speech channel, they can make their own minds up.
And that's 7 till 9 p.m. tomorrow on GB News. Thank you very much, Nigel Farage. And by the way, that human rights book there by Sir Keir Starmer, I bought it. That's £11.60. I'll never get back. Nigel Farage back in the hot seat tomorrow night. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Let's bring my panel in now. Joe and Serrano waiting very patiently. Joe, I'm going to come to you first. Clearly, emotions are running high. Mr. Mandarin is devastated. There could still be hope. Nigel Farage is there saying he will reverse this if Reform UK were to get into power.
I mean, you can say what you like this far out from an election, but and you can say what you like without even thinking about what the legal and financial ramifications of undoing a deal like that would be. I mean, I've always said, and I've said it on this programme, that the way the Chagosians have been treated is absolutely disgusting. But I do think there are a couple of things that I would just say. This didn't start with this government. It went back, as Nigel said, to a ruling that an advisory that Theresa May, when she was Prime Minister, decided to take seriously, and James Cleverly, when he was Foreign Secretary, was looking at before the previous election. My understanding, and I'm slightly curious as to why Nigel thinks that the Americans might not like this, because they welcomed it. They welcomed the fact, a few months ago that we had done a deal. I mean, I think there are several issues here. One is there any way that the Chagosian people could return? And my understanding is not under the current agreement.
Yes.
So you're not going to go home, as it were.
No, at all.
So and that's never a thing. The other thing is about Diego Garcia, which is absolutely tied up and bound up with America and American security. So they are leasing it from us. But I think the real thing is we are giving billions of money to the Mauritian government for something that we already own.
So you started this dialogue disagreeing with Nigel Farage.
No, I'm not.
Now you agree with him.
No.
I want to bring Serrano in. Serrano, here we are again. It's the Conservatives' fault.
Well, no, I don't think that's even what Joe quite said. It was an advisory judgment. David Cameron, when he was Foreign Secretary, slapped it down and said no further discussions on this. I think Mr Mandarin has accounted for the Chagosians very succinctly himself. So let me focus on something different, which is the British national interest. And, it's really important. We're seeing today some military activity in Qatar, for example. The instability of the world today means Britain needs needs to have a presence. And even Tony Blair said, Britain's too small, we mustn't give away any more territory. When Hong Kong was handed over, we've got to stop doing this. And, you know, the fact that we're paying Mauritius a huge amount of money for the privilege of handing them our territory is criminal. But worse still, what are they using that money for? They're using that money to cut their income taxes in that country whilst the Labour government is hiking taxes on everyone here. That is just not right. So, given this wasn't in the manifesto, it's absolutely within the remit of the House of Lords to ask the government to think again. And you know, I think, you know, not only the Chagosians, who clearly will be lobbying very hard on this, but I think all GBNews viewers should be lobbying peers to vote the right way when it comes to the House of Lords, to vote this down and say to the government they need to think again.
Mr. Mandarin, let's give the final word to you. In as far as handing such a huge sum of money to the Mauritians, can they be trusted with it? What kind of people are they in terms of their corruption in the country they run already?
No, at all. One thing I want to say to GBNews viewers as well, just have a little look on Mauritius. And Mauritius got two other islands as well, which is Rhode Island and Agalaga Island. Those Rhodesians and Agalians, they are classed as second citizens as well. So basically, this nation, are born in exile, and I've been there, my family been there in abject poverty, can't be trusted. Because it's all about corruption, about money, and if you see how the political spectrum of Mauritius, it will be always families to families running the country. It's never be a truly democratic country. So for me, sending a vast amount of money to the Mauritian government is a really, really big mistake the Labour government of Keir Starmer is doing right now.
And are you concerned? In fact, I'll ask you, Sir Ranil, on this. Are you concerned? A lot of people have been saying that the Chinese will be sniffing around. A 99-year period in the eyes of the Red Dragon is a scintilla, a blink of an eyelid. Might they swoop in and try and take control?
Well, 99 years, of course, links with Hong Kong. You know, there was a lot of thought, could we do a deal to extend British control over Hong Kong? And once the 99 years came to an end, the Chinese were absolutely clear that was not going to happen. And that will happen again here, and it might not be therefore in our lifetime. So we've got to think about our children, our grandchildren. Britain's interest is holding on to this territory. It's strategically important, and it's ever more so in the unstable world we find ourselves. And, you know, the truth is that even within those 99 years, things will become more and more difficult. There's nothing to stop the Chinese setting up camp on another island. What are we going to do? We haven't got the gunboats anymore, and that's the problem, I'm afraid, with Nigel's plan. You know, yes, you can renege on treaties, but you've got to be able to enforce that. And we don't have the gunboats that we once did. So that's the problem with the government signing this land away now. We'll never get it back.
Very quickly, Jo.
Very quickly, I just want to ask Misley, what would be the best outcome for you to stay as it is?
To stay as it is, get the Chagosian, reconnect with our island. For example, on Diego Garcia, if you have to do probation for Chagosian to work in there, if they fail probation, they can come back to the UK, that's not a problem for us. For us, we need to have connection to our island as British citizens. We don't want Mauritian, they got more than 50 years to look after us, they never did. We don't trust the Mauritian government. So we want to stay British, and we want to reconnect with our island as British Chagosian.
OK, Mr. Mandarin, we have to leave it there. I know you're a born fighter. The fight goes on. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you to Ranil and Jo also. Let's move back now to some more domestic politics, because in other news, the race for the Labour deputy leadership is heating up, with the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson so far topping the poll of Labour MPs. She's gained 44 of the 99 overall nominations as of 6 p.m. this evening, very much looking like the front runner. Now, other contenders include the former Commons leader Lucy Powell and also the Commons Foreign Affairs Committee chairwoman Dame Emily Thornberry. Now, candidates have until Thursday evening to secure the support of 80 MPs and make it onto that ballot sheet. Let's get back to my panel now. Sir Ranil Jayawardena and also Jo Phillips. Let's start with you, Sir Ranil. There are a few names in there with a bit of a checkered history. Emily Thornberry had to resign over that snobby tweet about St George's flags. But it seems that Bridget Phillipson has come to be the front runner. Will it make any difference?
Well, the front runner often doesn't win, so we we should still watch this very carefully over the coming days. It's interesting, she wouldn't have stood had Sir Keir Starmer not asked her to stand, because she's in the cabinet, she requires number 10's consent, and so this is clearly Keir's person for the job. And that reveals what Sir Keir Starmer actually believes. You know, he does believe in damaging our education system. She's still got the job. She's broken a consensus across both Labour and the Conservative parties that government should butt out of our schools rather than what she's doing now, controlling it all. But it's also interesting to see Lucy Powell coming forward. That's Andy Burnham's closest ally in Parliament and in government, or as was before she was sacked. And the fact that she's coming for Sir Keir now, having been sacked, I think that's really telling indeed. There's clearly a lot of instability in the Labour Party ahead. And that's before you even get to Emily Thornberry, who's really saying the quiet part out loud. She's talking about wealth taxes. She's talking about all sorts of hard left policy. Which will please the Labour Party backbenchers. And she's saying the quiet part out loud because that's not what Keir Starmer wants to project to the country. He wants to project that they are moderate. He wants to project that they have the best interests of the country at large at heart. And she's telling everyone that actually what the Labour Party wants are those hard left socialist policies that will make us all poorer.
Joe Phillips, there's been a lot of talk that this is merely rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Yet, there seems to be an obsession with the Labour Party that it has to be a woman. Who cares? Who cares if it's a woman? Why do we care what's in someone's trousers or their skirt? We care what's between their ears. What's his obsession with identity politics?
I don't think it's an obsession, but I do think it is important.
Why?
Because the Labour Party hasn't had a woman leader for a start, whereas the Tories have had four. But I do think it's important that they're not from London for a start.
Why?
Because
he's bothered.
The people who criticise Labour being as North London lawyers. Well, if you have Emily Thornberry and Keir Starmer, you've got two of them. I mean, the thing I would say, Martin, is actually, do you need a deputy leader when you've got already the post of Deputy Prime Minister has now gone to David Lammy? You've got party chairs, you've got party organisations. I'm not sure that this is a particularly useful thing, and I think the Labour Party would do a lot better if it concentrated on people who might not be Labour Party members but might have voted for the Labour Party in the hope that there would be an end to pantomime politics and actually get on with doing some of the things they were elected to do.
OK, well, the pantomime continues. Joe, Ranil, thank you very much. And also thank you again, Miss Lee Mandarin. Now, another quick reminder that it's coming up tomorrow at 7 p.m. is that Farage Immigration 2-hour special. We will not want to miss this one. GB News will be covering some astonishing exclusive stories, speaking to stellar guests and providing world-class analysis on what surely is the biggest issue. It's not just an issue, it's the issue of our time. And don't forget to send in your views. Farage at gbnews.com, and tune in tomorrow, 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. for that Farage Immigration 2-hour special, exclusively only here on GB News. Now, coming up in just a moment, you will not believe how much money Manchester United owner Jim Ratcliffe has pulled from UK investments because of Labour's net zero tax regime, despite backing Keir Starmer back in June. That's next.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow and across particularly northern parts of Italy, also into Croatia, there will be the return of heavy thundery rain. Also around the Canary Islands, a few showery bursts possible. A bit of rain pushing into the north of Portugal and northwest Spain. Otherwise, a good deal of fine, often sunny weather around. Also across Greece, generally dry, just a few showers to watch out for here. As we go through the rest of the week, away from parts of Italy and Croatia, it is going to be mostly dry and sunny.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. An unsettled day ahead tomorrow, cloudy for many with heavy showers and also spells of rain, particularly in the west. That's where we'll see areas of low pressure starting to move through. This one initially tonight bringing in spells of rain and then followed on behind by another area of low pressure, bringing some wet and windy conditions for Wednesday. Back to this evening, and this area of rain that's been across Wales and southwest England eventually moving its way northeastwards, pushing into central areas of England and parts of the south and southeast. This could be heavy and thundery at times. Also more cloud and showers starting to push in from the west, but with more cloud around that means it's not going to be quite as cool overnight. Many towns and cities dropping to around 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. Wednesday is set to be quite a changeable and mixed day. Once again, heavy showers starting to push into Wales, southwest England, plenty of cloud elsewhere and also a continuation of the showers. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, once again cloudy, murky with some heavy showers through the first part of the morning. Fairly similar conditions across western and southern parts of Scotland. Towards the far northeast, though, it should remain mostly dry through the early hours, but even eventually here we'll start to see some showers creep through. And we'll see quite a changeable and mixed day, plenty of cloud around, showers which will turn heavy at times with some hail and thunder, with a secondary band of rain which we do just need to keep an eye on as it starts to push its way into Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England. And it's going to be quite a breezy day, if not quite blustery, particularly around western coasts. Temperatures around about average for the time of year. Heading into Thursday, and there'll be some drier and brighter spells, but once again mixed in with some showers. The bulk of the showers are likely to be towards northwestern parts of Scotland, northern coast of Northern Ireland, so some heavy and blustery downpours expected here. But elsewhere across the country there will be some bright and sunny spells in between. The showers are set to continue for the end of the week into the weekend, with temperatures remaining around average.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Farage. With me, your host tonight, Martin Daubney. Nigel Farage is back tomorrow for that 2-hour immigration special, 7 till 9. But meanwhile tonight, the energy giant INEOS has announced it will cease all investment in Britain, instead funneling £3 billion into its American operations. Now, the company, owned by the multi-billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, slammed the state of the UK economy and hit out at the Labour government's tax raid on North Sea oil and gas extraction. Now, this comes after Ed Miliband, who last week defied an attempt by Keir Starmer to strip him of his energy brief, was criticised by the industry for pursuing a radical net zero agenda while rejecting calls for further drilling in the North Sea. Now, is this yet more proof that Labour's green dogma is driving investment, jobs and energy security out of Britain? Well, let's dive into this with my panel. Sir Ranald J. Awardiner, the former Conservative MP and Minister, and also Joe Phillips, the journalist and former press secretary to Paddy Ashdown. Joe, I shall start with you. Sir Jim Ratcliffe might be one of the many people having buyer's regret. He backed Sir Keir Starmer in June, and now he's also saying he's had enough of the Labour Party. He's cleared off to America, just like many people with a ton of money. This is Ed Miliband hounding energy investment out of our shores.
He also backed Ben Ainslie in the America's Cup and then had a spectacular falling out. He also backed the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team. He also backed Manchester United. He's got an awful lot of side hustles going on. Nearly all of them have gone into terrible catastrophe and money being lost. INEOS has been losing money and was put into negative forecasting a few months ago. And some of this may well be to do with net zero. But the idea that this is all because of net zero is frankly nonsense. And I think that Jim Ratcliffe, if he thinks that America under Trump is more stable than this country, then he is even more bonkers than I think. And I think, you know, the price went up for his main industries, petrochemicals, He's still doing an awful lot of work in Europe. He's building the biggest, or Ineos is building a huge plant in Antwerp, in Belgium. That is still going ahead.
Not in the UK.
But not to the UK.
There you go. That's the point. Because the whole point about this, Serrano, is that this investment is being driven offshore, and it has to be said the Conservatives had quite a thirst for windfall taxes before Ed Miliband. 75% was slapped on by Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak. Successive governments seem to be at war with energy sovereignty.
Well, yeah, look, I'm not saying our record was perfect, but it has got considerably worse since Labour have taken office. And Ed Miliband's policy, which is basically not to allow any new licences, not to allow any more oil and gas to be secured for our own energy security and to be used for the benefit of our people, is a terrible decision, and it is driving investment away from the UK. Not just Ineos, but a whole host of firms are leaving this country, choosing to put jobs elsewhere, and that's bad news for people in this country. These are really well-paid jobs, highly skilled jobs, and these are jobs that our people now cannot get. But I think the future is more important here, which is the Kemi Badenoch has said that the Conservative Party will be getting drilling going again in this country. Sure, fine.
A violent
No, I wouldn't go that far. We certainly were in favour of continuing drilling and allowing Rosebank, for example, to be harnessed. This is a bigger policy now, and it's the future that matters, which is against Ed Miliband, who's demonstrated, by the way, how weak Keir Starmer is.
OK, Randall, Joe, we have to move on. We've got too much to squeeze into this tonight's action-packed show, because tonight's What the Farage moment is this. Hundreds of Channel migrants are lining up for millions of pounds in compensation from the Home Office, well, actually from you, the British taxpayer, claiming, wait for it, that they were unlawfully detained in inhumane conditions. What exactly were these so-called inhumane conditions? Military barracks. And the claims relate to time spent at the Manston Migrant Holding Centre near Dover, with lawyers citing, you guessed it, European Convention on Human Rights. Well, how come if it's good enough for our troops, but apparently it's not good enough for people who arrived here illegally? Let's get a quick reaction from the panel. Let's start with you, Joe Phillips. One illegal immigrant is lining up for over £203,000 in compo.
Yes.
Makes a mockery of the British system.
Absolutely. Just to point out, and just to get the facts right, there is an investigation going on into conditions at Manston under your government, Ranil, during 2022. For a period when there were thousands of people in there, and they were being held for much longer than they should have been. They should have only been held for 24 hours, and they were detained for much longer. I completely agree. It is insulting to British taxpayers to seek compensation. But if you are going to do this, you need to make sure it works. And clearly Manston has been a disaster, and it is being investigated.
Well, I don't know about this investigation in 24 hours, whatever, but those are just rules we set in this country. If people come here because they fear persecution elsewhere, they are safe, whether they're there for 24 hours, 48 hours or whatever. The truth here, though, is that we are giving people suitable accommodation. We're keeping people safe if that's what they're fleeing, and our own law should not be used against us and against taxpayers. And this is actually not even the European Convention on Human Rights that's the problem. It's the Human Rights Act, which I know you're looking at tomorrow in the Immigration Special. The Human Rights Act is the thing that allows our lawyers to coin it at taxpayers' expense for spurious claims like this.
And Joe Phillips, a lot of people would look at this, once again, an incredible revelation. British taxpayers pay this bill. It's not the Home Office. It's British taxpayers. It's everyone watching the show will be paying these astonishing, eye-watering figures at accommodation that was once deemed fit for our own soldiers.
Yes, absolutely.
And now they're crying about it
for all the lawyers.
Tons of
And
payouts.
although the figures have gone up considerably of the Channel crossings in the last year, the figures rocketed in the previous 5-6 years with the backlog of asylum claims that were not being dealt with. And you have to recognise that
But hang on, you're drawing so many different things together to try and make an argument. The point here is that, yes, there was a backlog, agree. Numbers were coming down of Channel crossings in 2023 because we did a deal to make sure that people were deported. That was working. Rwanda was also going to send a cleared deterrent to people.
Maybe.
No, it's about the deterrent. The ideal flight is a flight with no one on it because no one's come illegally to this country. And that deterrent was removed when Labour that deterrent was removed when Labour took it as one of their first decisions.
Priti Patel, when she was Home Secretary, a independent report and said there is no evidence to suggest that Rwanda would act as a deterrent.
The evidence is Australia. It's worked before, it's working. And by the way, what's America done to bring its illegal migration to zero? It's chosen to deport people. Where to?
Yes.
To Rwanda.
Yes.
They're using
And
the facilities that taxpayers spent for, and the Americans are benefiting.
Rounding up people off the street. I don't want to live in a country
No,
where
but that's not the point. Zero illegal immigration.
You do it legally, you do it properly.
Zero illegal migration
is not
from deporting people.
OK, guys, we have to move on to our next What the Farage moment, and it's this. The African Union this time is calling for reparations from what the Farage moment. Africa is now jumping on the bandwagon, demanding billions of reparations from Britain for so-called historic crime. The summit in Ethiopia this week, leaders of the African Union wanted the 2025 to be called the Year of Reparations and issued demands for reparatory justice and true liberation. Now, the 55-state bloc has now joined Caribbean nations already pushing for trillions in slavery compensation. Now, we have to move on. I'm being told the show is just too packed full of action. And a quick reminder that coming up tomorrow at 7 p.m. is that Nigel Farage Immigration 2 Hour special. You'll not want to miss this one. GB News will be covering some astonishing exclusive stories, speaking to stellar guests and providing world-class analysis. Because immigration isn't just an issue. It's the issue of our political time. Don't forget to send your views, your questions, your thoughts to farage@gbnews.com and tune in tomorrow, 7 till 9 p.m. for that exclusive Farage Immigration 2 Hour special, only here on GB News. Now, there's still more to squeeze into tonight's show. Coming up after the break. Can you believe it? The outgoing French Prime Minister, yes, the French Prime Minister, has warned his parliament not to let France become like Britain. Once the envy of the world, we're now the global benchmark for decline. How did it sink this low? And more importantly, can we ever claw our way back? Zut alors, that's next.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
exist. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, welcome back to Farage with me tonight, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, the United Kingdom appears to have become the gold standard of how not to run a country. Can you Adam and Eve it? Yes, the outgoing French Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou, last night declared to Parliament in a final bid to stay in power, France cannot become like the United Kingdom. Yes, once the world's largest empire, the birth of the Industrial Revolution, the world's economic powerhouse, is now regarded around the world as an example of what not to do. And Monsieur Bayrou was specifically referring to how the British government's tax policies have led to an exodus of wealthy people from the country. And he should know, because the French chase their wealthiest all across the globe. I'm joined now by the Telegraph columnist Anne-Elisabeth Moutet. Anne-Elisabeth, a pleasure to have your company. It's an especial insult to us Brits to hear the French using us in Parliament of a gold standard of how not to do things.
In some things, for instance, to quote one example that stupefies the French is how woke the British police has become. And many people have things against the French police, but at least they are not woke. They would never go and arrest people because they tweeted something. And they would find it a complete waste of time and scarce resources. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we have had the experience. I mean, we're still the country of the OECD that had taxes most heavily its citizens, but we're watching Britain trying to do exactly the same thing and tax and tax and tax again. People thinking that they will work harder or they will bring more money into the country. We've lived through this for years, and we know it doesn't work.
And Anne-Elisabeth, you're correct to point out that France's wealth tax was an unmitigated disaster in itself, a gold standard of how to lose a record amount of billionaires. And yet nobody seems to have got the memo in Westminster. It seems the Labour Party are chasing the same forlorn hope.
The wealth tax was installed in France by a president, the first socialist president of the Fifth Republic, François Mitterrand. François Mitterrand actually came from the right, but he wanted people to forget it. He also wanted to have a majority in the House, and you can see these days how important it is to have a full majority in the House, and therefore to bring the communists on board, and then he decimated them. But to bring them on board, he created a wealth tax. We had not had one for decades, from before the First World War. And having created this wealth tax, it was almost impossible to get rid of it, because whichever politician said, we have to get rid of it, said, no, you are talking for the great capital and we don't want this. The person, strangely enough, who did diminish the wealth tax to a sort of almost manageable situation is Emmanuel Macron, who reduced it to a property tax, a tax on the value of property, because his point of view was that if you invest in companies, this creates jobs. If you have a house and the house is worth more than a certain amount, it is not enriching anyone except you if you sell it. But if you're just sitting on it or on land, not much is going to happen. It was not the best reasoning, but at least it got some, not all, but it got some billionaires back into France, including the richest man or second richest man in the world, depending on how Tesla does, from Bernard Arnault, who owns Dior and Louis Vuitton.
Elizabeth Moutet, we have to leave it there. And thanks for joining us. Absolute pleasure. Quick blast from my panel. Joe, let's go to you first. Can Emmanuel Macron, is his 7th Prime Minister, can he survive this?
Well, probably, but it's astonishing, isn't it? I mean, political fortunes. When you look at there, he was this great new young person. Everybody was so fed up with the existing parties, and now he's managed to alienate absolutely everybody. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, because I think there's going to be a stop everyone strike.
So, Ranil, is Macron heading for the political guillotine, metaphorically, of course.
Well, not yet, not yet. And, you know, the French system works in all sorts of mysterious ways. But I would just say there's one good thing about France in terms of their government, which is that they actually build things. They build railways, they build motorways, they get things done. And we could learn from that. And, of course, Labour, they talked about that, but they're backed away from it now.
OK, thank you very much, Rano and Joe. Pleasure to have you tonight. Of course, State of the Nation is up next. Jacob Rees-Mogg, Hoving interview. What's your take on the Entente Cordiale before we get onto your own menu?
Ooh la la. I think we must learn from what's going wrong in France. It's very serious, and we are heading in the same direction. We have a high debt, we have a deficit that is more than interest payments. We're in the risk of that doom loop economically. And this country at least has a government with a majority that ought to be able to do things. We've got a better constitutional setup, but France is in terrible trouble.
Quick 40 seconds, what is on the menu?
Well, it's following on from this. We're going to be talking about the British economy, why it's going wrong, and how there's an opportunity for the government to improve things. Now Angela Rayner's gone, drop the Workers' Rights Bill, the Strikers' Charters Bill, which will do great damage to our economy, which is already weak, and it needs growth. Apparently the Cabinet today was on growth. The biggest thing for growth they could do is drop the Strikers' Charters Bill.
Super stuff. Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg is up next with State of the Nation. Thanks to my panel once again, Cyrano and Joe. I'll be back tomorrow, 3 till 6 p.m. Don't forget, of course, that astonishing 2-hour immigration special with Farage tomorrow, 7 till 9. But next, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. An unsettled day ahead tomorrow, cloudy for many with heavy showers and also spells of rain, particularly in the west. That's where we'll see areas of low pressure starting to move through. This one initially tonight bringing in spells of rain and then followed on behind by another area of low pressure, bringing some wet and windy conditions for Wednesday. Back to this evening, and this area of rain that's been across Wales and southwest England eventually moving its way northeastwards, pushing into central areas of England and parts of the south and southeast. This could be heavy and thundery at times. Also more cloud and showers starting to push in from the west. But with more cloud around, that means it's not going to be quite as cool overnight. Many towns and cities dropping to around 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. Wednesday is set to be quite a changeable and mixed day. Once again, heavy showers starting to push into Wales, southwest England, plenty of cloud elsewhere and also a continuation of the showers. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, once again cloudy, murky with some heavy showers through the first part of the morning. Fairly similar conditions across western and southern parts of Scotland. Towards the far northeast, though, it should remain mostly dry through the early hours, but even eventually here we'll start to see some showers creep through. And we'll see quite a changeable and mixed day, plenty of cloud around, showers which will turn heavy at times with some hail and thunder, with a secondary band of rain which we do just need to keep an eye on as it starts to push its way into Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and southwest England. And it's going to be quite a breezy day, if not quite blustery, particularly around western coasts. Temperatures around about average for the time of year. Heading into Thursday, and there'll be some drier and brighter spells, but once again mixed in with some showers. The bulk of the showers are likely to be towards northwestern parts of Scotland, northern coast of Northern Ireland, so some heavy and blustery downpours expected here. But elsewhere across the country, there will be some bright and sunny spells in between. The showers are set to continue for the end of the week into the weekend, with temperatures remaining around average.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 223 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. It's me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, on State of the Nation. Tonight, Britain is facing a critical productivity crisis. Hiring has slumped faster than anywhere in Europe. Sick days are at a 15-year high and businesses are struggling under the burden of taxation. Meanwhile, pro-strike legislation risks encouraging more walkouts and holding the economy to ransom. It's time to get Britain working again. Britain's hospitals are failing and lives are being lost. New league tables reveal 4 in 5 NHS trusts are falling behind, missing targets or drowning in debt. After years of government failure, it's time to get a grip on the healthcare crisis. His Majesty's ambassador to the United States, Lord Mandelson, is under pressure after he wrote a billet-doux to Jeffrey Epstein, calling him his best pal. He says he regrets that he ever met Epstein. Is Lord Mandelson's political future once again in doubt?
The eyes to the right are 330, the nose to the left are 179. So the eyes have it, unlock!
Moments ago, MPs voted to surrender the Chagos Islands, possibly costing British taxpayers £47 billion. Meanwhile, the African Union is calling for billions more in reparations. What signal does this capitulation send to the wider world? And... well, wakey, wakey, guess who's coming back from a long cat nap? State of the Nation starts now. I'll also be joined by my most formidable panel, the Conservative MP and former Cabinet Minister Esther McVey and political commentator Matthew Stadlen. As always, I want to know your views, mailmog@gbnews.com. But now, it's your favourite time of the day, the News Bulletin with Tatiana Sanchez.
Jacob, thank you. The top stories. The government's Chagos deal has passed its second reading in the House of Commons. Debating the Diego Garcia military base and British Indian Ocean Territory bill, several Conservative MPs warned the deal with Mauritius could aid Chinese authorities in achieving their goals in the Indian Ocean. But Defence Minister Luke Pollard insisted the draft new law would see off a legal threat to the UK-US military base. MPs backed it by 330 votes to 179, a majority of 151 voting to surrender the Chagos Islands, possibly costing British taxpayers £47 billion. The UK government signed an agreement in May to cede the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, but will retain control over the Diego Garcia base for at least 99 years at an average annual cost of £101 million in today's prices. If agreed after further scrutiny at a later date, the bill will put parts of the deal onto the statute book, including dissolution of the British Indian Ocean Territory. Sir Keir Starmer has condemned Israel's attack on Qatar, saying it violates Qatar's sovereignty and risks further escalation across the region. His comments come